Listen closely, because what happened in this village will make you question everything you know about family loyalty. Stay with me until the end, and you will see how a woman's silence became more powerful than her tears. The zinc gate of Mama Adanna's new compound swung open, and there they stood, two faces she had not seen in 14 rainy seasons. Adanna, her only daughter, and Emeka, the husband who had turned her child's heart to stone. They stood there like beggars at a rich man's door, their clothes faded, their eyes searching the interior of the house as if looking for something to steal with their gaze. Behind Mama Adanna, the compound stretched wide and beautiful. Polished terrazzo floors reflected the afternoon sun. A flat-screen television, the size of a window, stood against the wall. Through the open corridor, palm trees swayed near a private borehole that never ran dry. The scent of fresh paint still hung in the air, mixed with the salt breeze from the river that ran behind the house. Mama, Adanna's voice shook like a leaf in harmattan wind. We need to talk. For 14 years, 14 complete circles of planting and harvest, these two people had erased Mama Adanna from the book of the living. 14 years without a single message on her small Nokia phone. 14 years without inviting her to Christmas or Easter or the naming ceremony of her own grandchildren. And now that news had spread through 5 villages that Mama Adanna bought this land and built this house with hard cash, they appeared like spirits summoned by the smell of money. Mama Adanna stood at the threshold, studying them with the quiet eyes of a woman who had cried all her tears and had none left. Emeka's shirt was wrinkled and worn thin at the elbows. Adanna wore a faded Ankara wrapper that had been washed so many times the pattern had turned pale like old memories. Lines of worry creased her daughter's forehead like fresh hoe marks in dry soil. Her hands trembled as she waited for a response. Talk, Mama Adanna repeated, her voice calm as still water. How interesting. After 14 years of treating me like I died and was buried, now you want to talk. The colour drained from their faces. Emeka cleared his throat, adjusting his collar like a man preparing to beg for something he did not deserve. It was clear they had come straight from some place where shame lived, and they carried it with them like a bad smell. During those 14 years of cruel abandonment, Mama Adanna had survived by frying akara and puff-puff every morning, selling them at the motor park before the sun grew too hot. Every day, while they were probably eating jollof rice and fried chicken in air-conditioned restaurants, she stood under the punishing sun, her wrapper soaked with sweat, smiling at strangers who appreciated her cooking more than her own blood. Her hands had grown rough and scarred from hot oil. Her back had bent from carrying heavy basins on her head. But her spirit had never completely broken. The smell of frying akara still lived in her memory. Palm oil bubbling hot, onions and peppers ground smooth, the way the batter would sizzle when it touched the oil. These smells had filled her small room when Adanna was a child, when her daughter would dance around the kitchen shouting, "Mama, you are the best cook in the whole world, even better than the women on television." Those golden days seemed to belong to another lifetime, to another woman who foolishly believed that a mother's love was a seed that could never die, no matter how long the drought. The change had started slowly after Adanna met Emeka at the wedding of her cousin. At first, he was all smiles and sweet words. He would call Mama Adanna, my dear mother-in-law, with teeth shining like he had just won a lottery, praising her vegetable soup, while secretly planning how to cut Adanna away from her mother's influence. Little by little, Mama Adanna began to notice the poison seeping into her relationship with her daughter. When Adanna mentioned visiting on Saturdays, Emeka always had a funeral to attend in his village. When Mama Adanna called in the evenings to hear her daughter's voice, Emeka would answer with irritation and promise that Adanna would call back. But she never did. Messages disappeared like smoke. Plans dissolved like sugar in rain. The exclusions began as small wounds that hurt, but which could be forgiven. Adanna's graduation from the Polytechnic. "Ah, Mama, we thought you had another important thing to do that day." The traditional marriage ceremony before they went to the registry. It was very small, Mama. Just his family. You understand. The naming ceremony of her first grandchild, a girl Mama Adanna had never held. Mama, it was only close friends. We didn't want to disturb you with the stress of traveling. Each excuse was a knife wrapped in smiles and kind words. Mama Adanna would nod her head, force a smile, and say, "It's okay, my daughter. Next time will be better." But next time never came. Her phone remained as silent as a graveyard at midnight. The nights grew longer. The days grew heavier. She cooked for one person, talked to the photographs of her late husband on the wall, and celebrated her birthdays alone with a small piece of cake she bought from the woman who sold bread near the junction. That woman always asked, "How is your daughter?" And Mama Adanna always replied with the same lie, "She is fine. Very busy with her new family. You know how it is." But now, standing at the entrance of her dream house with the river singing behind her and fresh air filling her lungs, she saw them clearly for who they were. She gestured them inside with a wave of her hand, watching as their eyes grew wide at the sight of the luxury that now surrounded her. The floor gleamed like water under moonlight. Light poured through the windows like blessing. Adanna walked behind Emeka like a shadow, keeping her head down while her husband's eyes moved from chair to table to wall, calculating, evaluating, pricing everything he saw with the greed of a man who had come to collect. "Sit down," Mama Adanna said, pointing to the cushioned chairs that cost more money than they had seen together in 5 years. "I suppose after so long, you have plenty to tell me." Emeka cleared his throat, straightening his back the way men do when they want to appear important. "Mama Adanna, we know it has been some years since we spoke." 14 years, Mama Adanna interrupted, her voice firm as iron. "Not some years. 14 complete years since you decided I no longer existed." Adanna finally looked up, and Mama Adanna saw tears gathering in her eyes. But those tears no longer had the power to move her. She had cried too many nights alone to allow her daughter's calculated tears to bend her heart now. "Mama, it was not our intention," Adanna whispered. "Things became complicated." "Complicated," Mama Adanna repeated. "The same complications that made you forget you had a mother who would have walked through fire for you." For 14 years, Mama Adanna had built a life that kept her from drowning in sorrow. Every morning, she woke at cockcrow, preparing her akara batter with the same love she once used to bathe baby Adanna. The mixing required patience. The frying required attention. The timing did not forgive mistakes. Those recipes became her salvation. Market days became her moments of human connection. Other women like her, women whose children had grown wings and flown away without looking back, would buy her akara and they would talk. They shared stories of absent children, of delayed dreams, of the special pain that comes from being forgotten by those who once lived inside your body. One woman, Mama Chidi, a widow of 72 years, became her closest friend. She too had been abandoned by her children after they married. She too knew the bitter taste of being invisible to those who were once your whole world. Children think that once they build their own house, we old ones become like broken pots, no longer useful, Mama Chidi would say as she bought 6 pieces of puff puff to share with her neighbors. But when trouble comes knocking, oh, then they remember we are still alive. How true those words were. Now, watching Adanna wring her hands while Emeka mentally calculated the worth of everything in the room, Mama Adanna understood perfectly what Mama Chidi had meant. The change in Adanna had been gradual but complete. During the first years of her marriage, she still called occasionally, but the conversations became stiff, filled with uncomfortable silences. Emeka was always there in the background, coughing or making comments that cut their talk like a sharp machete. "Your mama always has some problem," Mama Adanna once heard him say when Adanna thought she had ended the call. "My own mother never disturbs us with her personal issues." Personal issues? That was what Emeka called her loneliness, her natural desire to remain part of her daughter's life, her need to know her grandchildren. Everything she felt had been reduced to personal issues that disturbed their perfect marriage. The invitations came less, and less until they stopped completely. First, it was New Yam Festival. "Mama, this year we are doing something small. Just the 2 of us." Then Christmas. "The children are sick. Better we postpone." Then birthdays, then Easter, then everything. Each excuse was delivered with empty promises about next time. A next time that never arrived. Adanna developed a special talent for making every rejection sound reasonable, every exclusion feel temporary, every abandonment seem like it was for Mama Adanna's own good. "We don't want to stress you, Mama. You are getting old. Rest yourself and enjoy your peace." Peace. As if loneliness was a gift she had requested. As if waking every morning to silence was her definition of happiness. As if eating alone in front of a small black and white television was what she dreamed of. The years passed like pages in a calendar that nobody read. Mama Adanna's routine became so predictable that even the chickens in her compound knew exactly when she would scatter their feed. Monday, make akara. Tuesday, fry plantain. Wednesday, make puff puff that sold like pure gold. Thursday, prepare bean cakes. Friday, package everything for market. Saturday, rest and repair. Sunday, the market, the women, the conversations that temporarily filled the hole in her chest. But there were also moments of such deep loneliness that she felt she might drown in it. Entire nights awake, staring at her phone that never rang, waiting for a message that never came. Christmases spent watching church programs on television with a single candle stuck in a small cake. New Year's Eve welcomed with a cup of zobo, and the stubborn hope that maybe this year would bring reunion. The sharpest pain came at unexpected moments. When she saw families at church, when she heard other grandmothers talk about their grandchildren, when she passed by the shops selling children's clothes and wondered what sizes her grandchildren wore. Adanna had given birth to 4 children whom Mama Adanna knew only from blurred photos she saw on someone else's phone. Photos she stared at like a thief stealing glimpses of her own family. "Mama," Adanna's voice pulled her back to the present. We know we made mistakes. Mistakes? The word came from Mama Adanna's mouth like a stone from a catapult. Erasing your mother from your life for 14 years was a mistake. Denying your children the love of their grandmother was a mistake. Emeka shifted uncomfortably, finally understanding that this conversation would not go as planned. His eyes continued to scan the room, calculating, evaluating, planning his next move like the snake he had always been. They were not mistakes, Mama Adanna continued, feeling truth pour from her throat like water from a broken dam. They were choices. Wicked, deliberate, heartless choices. You chose to throw me away like a broken pot that no longer held water. Adanna began to cry, but her tears no longer had power. Mama Adanna had cried alone for too many nights, wondering what she had done wrong, how she had failed as a mother, why her unconditional love had not been enough. Mama, please, let us explain. Adanna tried between sobs. Explain what? Mama Adanna's voice rose. Will you explain why I was not there when my first grandchild took her first steps? Why I did not know when my grandson lost his first tooth? Why I spent 14 Christmases cooking for nobody while you built memories without me? Emeka finally spoke, using that superior tone he had perfected over the years. Mama Adanna, we understand you feel hurt, but families sometimes need space to grow. It was nothing personal. The laugh that escaped Mama Adanna's throat sounded bitter, even to her own ears. Nothing personal, Emeka. You turned my daughter into a stranger. You poisoned her heart against me. You decided I had no place in your life. She remembered with painful clarity the day Adanna delivered the final blow. It was a rainy Tuesday in September, exactly 14 years ago. Adanna came to the compound with an expression Mama Adanna had never seen before. Cold, distant, like someone completing an unpleasant duty. Mama, Emeka and I have been talking, she began without accepting the gari and groundnut Mama Adanna had prepared. We think it is better if you have less contact with us for now. Less contact? Mama Adanna asked, feeling the ground shake beneath her feet. What does that mean? It means you are no longer welcome in our house. It means we don't want you calling every time. It means we need space to be a family without outside interference. Outside interference. That was what her own daughter called her. As if she were a troublesome neighbor, a stranger poking her nose where it did not belong. Not her mother who had carried her for 9 months, who had stayed awake through fevers and nightmares, who had worked 3 jobs to pay her school fees. Adanna, I don't understand. What have I done wrong? Mama Adanna's voice cracked, but Adanna's face remained hard as stone. It's not about what you did wrong, Mama. It's about what is best for my marriage and my children. Emeka needs to know that I put our nuclear family first, before everyone else. Everyone else. That was what Mama Adanna had become to her daughter. Everyone else. But Adanna, I am your mother. I am your children's grandmother. I am not a stranger threatening your marriage. Emeka says mothers-in-law always cause problems in young marriages. He says it is better to set boundaries early. Emeka says. Emeka thinks. Emeka needs. At some point, Adanna's voice had become an echo of his. Her thoughts had been replaced by his. Her heart had been reprogrammed to beat to whatever rhythm he chose. And what do you say, Adanna? What do you think? What does your heart say? Silence. Long, heavy silence. For a moment, Mama Adanna thought the daughter she had raised would return. But when Adanna spoke, her voice sounded hollow, rehearsed, like lines learned from a script. I think Emeka is right. I think it is for the best. For everyone. Including you, Mama. You can have your own life without worrying about us. That was the last real conversation they had. After that day, Adanna became a ghost who occasionally sent cold, lifeless text messages. Hope you are well, Mama. Happy birthday. Happy New Year. Automatic messages without soul, without love, like notices from a bank. The first months after that separation were the darkest of Mama Adanna's life. She lost weight. She lost sleep. She lost hope. Every morning, she woke up thinking it was a nightmare, that Adanna would call to apologize, that everything would return to normal. But the phone stayed silent, and reality grew heavier each day. It was Mama Chidi who saved her from drowning completely in depression. She appeared at Mama Adanna's door one Sunday morning, when Mama Adanna had been lying in bed for 4 days without bathing, eating only gari and water. Adanna, get up. Mama Chidi's voice was sharp as broken bottle. You have 2 choices. You can stay here dying slowly for a daughter who does not deserve you, or you can build a new life that is worthy of you. The words sounded harsh, but they carried the weight of truth. That afternoon, Mama Chidi helped her sweep the room, organize her recipes, and plan her akara business. If you must suffer, Mama Chidi said as they mixed the first batch of batter in months, suffer while doing something useful. And so Mama Adanna's new life began, slowly, painfully, but with determination. Every akara sold was a step toward freedom. Every satisfied customer was a small victory. Every kobo earned was proof that she had value, even if her own daughter could not see it. Market days became her weekly therapy. The The women who bought her food became her chosen family. They shared stories of ungrateful children, of marriages that divided families, of the loneliness of being a mother in a world that throws you away when you are no longer useful. My son tells me I am too dramatic when I complain he doesn't visit, a woman named Ngozi said while buying 6 pieces of akara. But it is not drama. It is real pain. It is the human need to feel loved by the child you brought into this world. Now, sitting in her beautiful parlor that cost more than everything Adanna and Emeka owned combined, Mama Adanna remembered every tear, every sleepless night, every lonely birthday. And she saw them there, small and desperate, looking for something from her after turning their backs for more than a decade. "So," she said with a controlled voice, "after 14 years of silence, what exactly brings you to my door?"